for things they've already seen. I think they wanted me to be like that, y'all. But it wasn't my scene. I started doing these things that made them say they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that, y'all.
What is up, Lexi, and welcome back to Spokast. On today's episode, I am thrilled to welcome Adam Boyd. He is a multifaceted individual whose passions and talents have taken him from the world of filmmaking to the craft of brewing. Adam is the president and festival director of the 50-Hour Slam. The 50-Hour Slam is an annual film competition and festival open to all filmmakers in Spokane and the Coeur d'Alene area. Its creators and organizers designed the festival as a way to encourage new and emerging independent artists, as a way to challenge the more established filmmakers of our region. The filmmakers will have exactly 50 hours to complete a 3 to 6 minute movie, starting from the writing and development process all the way to the final editing stage. The competitors will be encouraged to experiment and push their talents to create a unique and entertaining piece for their entry. Adam Boyd is also the owner and head brewer of Garland Werks, located in the Garland district, which you will learn all about during today's episode. I am so excited for you all to listen to this fascinating story and hear Adam's takes on being a filmmaker and being a brewer. Now let me introduce you to Dom Arce. He is Spokast's first intern, and he kind of put this all together. Dom, I want to ask you, why did you want to get Adam Boyd on Spokast so bad?
I wanted to get Adam on here because he was my former instructor. I learned great things through him, and on top of that, he owns a fantastic brewery in the Garland.
I honestly, I've heard Adam Boyd's name a couple of times in certain circles, and I was just kind of blown away by all the things that he's involved in, and just it just goes to show everyone in Spokane just has a very unique story, and Adam is just doing so many cool things for our city and deserves all the praise and recognition for helping make delicious beer in Spokane and help progressing local filmmakers. So thank you again, dude, for getting him on here. It was such a I don't want to say it was unexpected, but it was very I didn't know what to expect. So I guess it was kind of unexpected.
Yeah, no problem. I had a great time in having him on.
Well, before we get into the show, I got to give a shout out to my Patreon supporters, and they are Jonathan Weiser, Luis Garcia, Nathan O'Brien, Pia Hollenberg, Gina Campbell, Enrique de la Novelle, Joe Williamson, Joe Van Voorhis, Elizabeth Geyer, Abby Pointer, Tyler Poole, Judy Pointer, Amber Sparks, Luke Baumgarten, Valerie Ozier, Nick Spanger, and Elizabeth and Bill Pointer. Thank you all again so much for being Spokastanites. If you want to support what I'm doing here, go to patreon.com/Spokast. Well, I will not keep you any longer. Here is brewer and filmmaker Adam Boyd. This is Spokast. Well, I am here with Adam Boyd, former filmmaker, retired filmmaker.
Sure.
Brewmaster.
Yeah.
Those appropriate titles?
I think so.
Perfect. Were you born and raised in Spokane, or are you a transplant?
I'm a transplant, but was transplanted very early.
Oh,
I was
okay.
very young when my family moved here. We moved here from Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
When I was, I would have been entering second grade in elementary school when we moved up here.
Oh, okay.
So lived here for the majority of my life.
I saw your IMDb credits. You were born in 1985, so you moved to around the same time I did.
Okay.
84, and so we're Spokane. I'm basically raised in Spokane. I'm basically born in Spokane. I know no better than Spokane.
Yeah, exactly.
What is an early memory of growing up in Spokane?
I feel like it was the first winter when I had moved up here as a kid, where we got the classic, 3 feet of snow here in Spokane, and that was an experience I had never had as a kid.
Right.
And that was just, I just remember that being a very formative memory of just and at that point in time, it's chest high, snow. Having that very magical winter that is very, Spokane-esque.
It's very Spokane-esque to have. I probably the same. I came from Nashville, from the Midwest, and I had experienced snow, but never in the magnitude that Spokane gets in the winter. Nashville, you get maybe one. It was probably Portland. You get a couple of dustings, and then
exactly.
then like it'd go away. But yeah, Spokane. I mean, I love the seasons here.
Same.
Like you can't really go around. I wish maybe winter could just be like 1 month less. But so, what part of town did you grow up in?
Very north. I grew up in 9 Mile Falls. So,
okay.
Yeah, kind of out in the rural area, but close enough to, Spokane where, we travel in for market day.
Right. What high school is that?
Lakeside High School
okay.
was where I went. But yeah, my family lived right on the edge of Riverside State Park, so the woods was my backyard, and it was a great way to grow up.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I wish I could have grown up on that park. That's such a to be able to explore all that as a kid.
Oh yeah, wildlife and
outside all the time,
nature.
So, what like got you into filmmaking as a young lad in Spokane?
Yeah, I think I just kind of became enamored with the idea of Hollywood and movies, kind of as a young kid. Seeing a lot of big blockbusters and action movies, and just kind of something clicked in me where I wanted to learn how to make those or sort of, be part of that process. And that just kind of carried through into, middle school and high school where I had opportunities to do like video production classes.
Yeah.
And it was something that I think I just had a passion for because I didn't lose interest in it. I stayed with it. I ended up graduating from high school and enrolling in Eastern Washington University's film program. At that time, it was called Film and Media, something like that. It was still somewhat television and broadcast oriented at the time. Some of my initial production classes, we still learned switching for live TV, like newscasts and stuff. That's not there anymore. But just continued to fall in love with the process of filmmaking, and was able to kind of have a first career in making feature films and large budget commercials after that.
Yeah, I was. What side of like filmmaking did you go towards?
Sure,
was
yeah.
it like directing? Was it?
My interest was definitely kind of in screenwriting. I think when I was a student, I did a lot of script writing and story kind of structure stuff. And then when I kind of fell into working in film, I navigated my way into assistant directing and producing. I think I just had a sort of a natural way of kind of understanding all the moving parts of a movie and not necessarily allowing it to overwhelm me that, yes, the script went scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, but if we jumble it all up, it still makes sense in my mind. So
Right.
I just found my way into kind of doing, film scheduling, coordinating, producing, and that was the majority of my career for roughly 10 years in the feature film business. But I enjoyed it because it was kind of like puzzle solving a little bit. And then also I got to work very close with a lot of directors and kind of see how they dealt with making movies, telling stories in a visual medium. And to me, that was I was still a student. I was learning every time I jumped on a new film with a new director.
Yeah. So this was with North by Northwest.
Yeah, I did a majority of the work I did was through North by Northwest here in Spokane. Occasionally traveling. Towards the end of my career, it required a lot more traveling if I wanted to continue working as often as I was, and that was probably one of the factors that kind of let me look at stepping away from film and changing careers, was that I was doing a lot of traveling and I missed Spokane.
Yeah. Where were you traveling to?
Mostly LA. Towards the end, I was doing some travel down south. Louisiana at the time was booming. It was just after Hurricane Katrina, and at some point their state film incentive program just lifted all ceilings, and they were inviting movies in until they ran out of money. So
Wow. Did you ever get to go to Georgia?
No, never worked in Georgia.
Okay, I know that
it's another hot spot for sure.
Yeah. What was like the coolest experience in like making movies? Like what is something that was memorable?
Yeah. I did a lot of action films. My resume of movies is this weird mix of like kid and dog family movies and then like low budget action films. But so blowing anything up was always fun. But I think, and when I look back at all the time I spent in doing film, I think what I really, really felt was most rewarding and what I enjoyed was just working with other artists. And every new film was like a new family of people you got to know, and you got to see their talents and learn about them and their background. And so for someone who really enjoyed like the cultural experience of film. Like every project kind of gave me something in that regard. And I just really enjoyed that. So that's probably something I will always cherish from working in film.
I have to ask, like, you worked with Peter Dinklage in the film. What was that film?
Yeah, Knights of Badassdom.
Knights of Badassdom. You were a second assistant director on that?
Yeah.
What was that film like? Because there's other people that there was a lot of stars in that film.
Yeah, the cast was mind-blowing at the time.
Right.
I mean, we had, let's see, it was Ryan Quatten, who was just coming off of True Blood. We had Steve Zahn. We had Danny Pudi, who was in the middle of shooting the NBC series Community at the time. We had Summer Glau, who had just come off of Firefly and was in the Fox Terminator TV series for a while.
Yeah.
And then we had Peter Dinklage, who was just getting ready to start the first season of Game of Thrones for HBO.
That's crazy.
And in fact, I remember our insurance company for the film, every single one of those actors had larger projects they were committed to after filming with us. So they were like, this is the biggest insurance nightmare we've ever dealt with. And it was a $7 million movie, so it was considered low budget.
Right.
Dinklage was going off to shoot a TV series that was $10 million an episode. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a really interesting film. It was a really, really strong script. We had a really fun young director who had the right energy for kind of this very edgy spoof comedy. The whole premise is about these group of LARPers, live action role players who take their buddy who's just went through a rough breakup out into the woods to do this big LARPing convention. And unbeknownst to them, they've accidentally released a demon from hell into the LARPing convention. So these LARPers who are used to battling with foam swords now have to fight off an actual demon. And it's a very fun movie. And it was an interesting film to go through the process of finishing it and then sort of seeing its trajectory, because the year we completed shooting the film, it had premiered the trailer at Comic-Con down in LA.
Oh, wow.
In Hall H, which is usually where they like show the next Marvel movie trailer.
Yeah.
And they did a panel with the cast. And so as someone who shot this little movie up here in Spokane, I'm watching this going like, this is going to be the biggest film to come out of Spokane. And then there was this whole political implosion with the producers. And it ended up getting shelved for like 4 years. And then it went through a whole bunch of test screening and recuts. And when it was finally re-released, I think it went to streaming and limited release in theaters. And I think it just completely missed its window to become something great, which is too bad.
That
but
is too bad.
At the end of the day, I think all the people involved, they did a great job, and it was a really fun project. So
Honestly, when I saw that on your filmography, I was like, I don't honestly never heard of this, but like Steve Zahn's name caught me. I loved him in like That Thing You Do.
Oh yeah,
but that all was filmed in Spokane.
Yeah,
Wow.
entirely in Spokane. Most of it done out in the equestrian park, which is sort of down behind Spokane Falls Community College.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of night shoots out there and did some really epic night, like massive battles, like Braveheart style LARPing battles that were all shot in like high speed cameras. And we brought up two individuals from California who are like the head of like the National LARPing Society. Wow. And they were like, we hired them as advisors, and we brought out a whole bunch of people. So we had at one point in time like 80 extras on set, all in their cosplay and LARPing outfits. And it was definitely a unique experience.
Oh man, I feel like I wish I had heard about that. I feel like if it had been a couple of years later, like, because Peter Dinklage I knew him from like Station Agent.
Oh sure, yeah.
And and he'd done other things obviously, but like he had not got to the level that he is after Game of Thrones.
He was right on the precipice. It was kind of a short story. He did at one point in the film, he wears chainmail and armor. And our props master was sort of helping him get into it, and it was not very comfortable. It was legit, like steel chainmail, and he was Peter was grumbling about it, and our props master said, well, hey, don't worry. After tonight, this is your last night. You never have to wear this stuff again. And he was like, actually, I'm flying to Europe tomorrow, and I'm going to be in this series called Game of Thrones where I probably have to wear this all the time.
All the time. That's funny. Quick aside with LARPing. Have you... a new docuseries just came out on Max called Ren Fair.
I've heard of this, yeah, but I haven't seen it.
Okay,
yet.
it's gonna be like the show that everybody is watching in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
because it is insane. I watched the first episode last night because it's about this old man who's like kind of the king of this Renaissance fair down in Texas, like the first ever in America.
Okay.
And he has now like he's a mayor of this town, but he's 85 and he's like trying to figure out who he's going to give this Renaissance fair to. So it's like Succession,
right?
But like with Renaissance fair like overtones, and it's all true.
Oh,
And
that's wild.
It's crazy. And so I was like, it's shot beautifully, and you should definitely go watch it.
It's going on the queue for sure.
Before we get on to the 50-hour film slam and Garland Brewer Werks, we're gonna take a quick pause. And we're gonna play a game.
Okay.
It's called the Spokast Hot List. I actually didn't warm you up with this. I should have. I meant to tell you this.
That's okay. I'm coming in fresh.
But it's a word association game. I'm going to say a word, and you're going to say the first word that comes to your mind as it relates to Spokane.
All right. Okay.
And
do my
so,
best.
The first word I always say is park.
Oh, riverfront.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Oh, roast house.
Burger.
Ooh. Zips.
Which one?
I just in my neighborhood, the one on Monroe, North Monroe, is just
Everyone has one.
I've spent too much time there for sure.
Too much time. Shopping.
Shopping. Formative years, Northtown Mall. That was.
That has been mentioned like I think 5 out of the last 6 episodes.
Yeah, I mean middle school, high school, man. That's right. Orange Julius, and you just hung out with your friends at the mall.
How much do you miss arcade downstairs?
Oh, bumpers. Oh man, I still have coins from bumpers.
Oh
yeah,
I can't use them.
Nope.
I heard it's still there. It's like kind of like it's now the storage for Northtown.
They've kind of like filled it in.
Yeah, but I spent so much. I spent like 1 year. I went down. Merlin's was in there, or like a card shop was down there, and I spent $100 on Magic cards, and my parents were so pissed off at me. But I was like, I'm gonna become a millionaire playing Magic. That never transpired. Brewery.
Garland Brew Werks.
Perfect. Sweet treats.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, you know what? The Scoop. Yeah.
Brunch.
Oh, Brunchinette.
Neighborhood.
The Garland neighborhood. Yeah.
Visual artist.
Oh, dang. Who is? That's a tough one. This might be too cliche, but Harold Blaze.
Oh, yeah.
And especially with the exhibit that's going on in the MAC right now. But just my daughter, she's 12, but she saw his name on something and was trying to pronounce, But and I've just been having fun, like pointing out every single piece of artwork in Spokane, public artwork that he's attached to, and I think she's finally getting tired of me pointing out all the artwork.
I'll point one out to you. I got this from a friend. This is a Bloomsday '87 poster that Harold Blaze designed.
Awesome. I have never seen that before. That's incredible.
It's on foam core, and
very
I was
cool.
like, friends like, you love running and you love Bloomsday, you should have this.
That's awesome.
And I love Harold Blaze. Like transcend the bullshit is like my mantra.
Classic.
Pizza.
Oh, I'm gonna go with David's. Yeah.
Music venue. You can go classic.
Okay, I'm going to say the Bartlett. It's not around anymore, but I've saw so many concerts there.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Art event.
I would say the 50-hour slam. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And I asked this to everyone who's like in the film in Spokane, but like, what's the best movie filmed in Spokane?
Movie filmed in Spokane?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the best, but it holds a special place in my heart, which is Vision Quest. And when I was the director for the Spokane International Film Festival, we did a special anniversary screening of that. Matthew Modine came to town.
I was there.
And he was just the most charming individual, and was, we showed it at the Fox, and afterwards, or I think it was the Bing. I'm trying to remember the venue, but afterwards.
It was at the Garland.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was. He hung around, and I think he talked to every single person who waited to speak with him. And he had the longest day. I'd been like his press agent, taking him around to every news station in town so he could do the same interview over and over again. And by the time we got to the screening, I was just looking at him going, this man has to be exhausted. And he stayed and talked to every single person. And he was so
grateful and celebratory of Spokane. So yeah, the Vision Quest, hands down.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I was there, and I was like, I ran cross country in high school, and my coach always made us watch Vision Quest once a year.
For sure.
And I've loved like the running scene and the coach's speech in that. Is like one of the best sports speeches of like all time. And I just love that movie. And then I already asked. That was the end of the game.
Okay.
So, great job.
Did I win?
You know what? You did in the fact that like you went 100% in all Spokane things.
Okay.
Often at times I will get like a random like Starbucks in there.
Sure, yeah.
But I mean, we have like 50 of them in the city. So, well, let's get into I guess the next transition would be starting the 50-hour slam.
Sure. Yeah.
When did you start this, and what is it?
Yeah. Okay. I started it with a small group of other film individuals I had worked with for some time. It was 14 years ago. It was 2010 was the very first slam, and what it is there are other events like this across the country, but I think this one is. I'm not sure how many are set in 50 hours. It's usually like a 48-hour.
Yeah.
And it's a basically timed film competition. Mm-hmm. We give filmmakers who come to participate 50 hours to plan, write, shoot, edit, and complete a short film. Mm-hmm. And every year we give them different fun prompts that they have to include in their film. It's twofold. We do that to push them outside of their creative envelopes, and then also to ensure that they're actually creating the film within the weekend that we have the competition, and not just rolling in with a completed masterpiece that they spent 7 months on. So but yeah, we started it in 2010, sort of to fill a hole. For several years, North by Northwest had. In partnership with the First Night organization here in Spokane, had done a 48-hour film competition where the filmmakers that were selected and won would screen their films at First Night on New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. And it ended up kind of fading away as First Night faded away and North by Northwest kind of turned towards less community-oriented projects. And there really wasn't anything like it anymore. And my partner at the time, Juan Moss, we were doing a lot of film projects together, both through North by Northwest and outside of it. We had heard that the 48 wasn't going to come back, and I think we were just wrapping some small commercial project we had done, and we were having beers, and I said, what we should do is do our own 48-hour. And of course, if you know Juan Moss, if you throw an idea at him, he's just going to run with it. So the next thing I knew is he had all these people willing to come together, and the rest is history. Since then, we've been going strong. This is our 11th year. We ended up taking a long hiatus during COVID, but we're back now and in full swing. So yeah.
Was last year your first one back?
It was, yeah. And we were not sure what the status would be coming back after 3 years of not having the event. And we were kind of in a period where we were like, well, if it's not a great turnout, maybe the slam has run its course. But we had an excellent turnout. It was like we had never left, and we had people shaking our hands going, we're so glad you're back. We've missed this. And I was kind of like, well, then I guess the slam's going to keep going.
That's so cool. Why 50 hours?
We wanted to differentiate ourselves from the 48 and make it something different,
Yes.
So, yeah.
So when you sign up for this, is it like, are you assigned a team or do you come with a team?
You come with a team, and there's a lot of key kind of things in our mission statement that we pushed. One is that the slam is open to anyone, no matter what your skill level is, your age. We have had middle school kids or elementary school kids teaming up with their parents to make these films, all the way through people who work in the industry for a living. And the slam is this great leveler, whereas those teams have a fair shot at winning awards and getting screened. But we also try to provide as
many resources as possible to educate and to open avenues for individuals to come and participate. So you come with a team, but every year when we do our kickoff event, we invite, some people will message us and be like, hey, I don't have a team. Like, I'm an actor, I do this, but I don't really have anybody. And we say, come down.
Yeah.
Come down, because we're going to put you up in front of everybody. We're going to introduce you, say you don't have a team. And every single year, the Slammers have proved this. Those people get put on teams within seconds. I mean, they raise their hand. They're like, hi, I'm Steve. And they're like, we'll take them. So, and it's been a really positive experience. Those people then end up coming back the next year. And it's just been really cool to see as it develops. So
that's so cool. And so, like, how long are these films that
they're between 3 and 6 minutes in length.
That's the parameters. Like, it has to be a bit, okay.
Yep. Yeah, which is very challenging. To try and what ends up happening is a lot of filmmakers write their scripts, the first night, and then it ends up being, Lawrence of Arabia, and they have to figure out how they're going to cut their film down to 4 minutes.
Because like that could be technically could be like just 4 pages of like script. I mean, there isn't like one page.
We do limit your credits can only be a minute long, because some teams have found like, okay, we're gonna stretch those credits. We shot 2 minutes of a movie, so we got to stretch those credits out.
The screening for the films is this Saturday.
Correct.
At the Bing.
Yep.
But like this isn't happened the days before. This happened a while ago,
yeah,
right?
It's an interesting thing the way the Slam works, because it's kind of a 2-part event. There is the Slam weekend, which is usually in late March or early April.
Okay.
And that is where we pick the weekend where they have 50 hours to complete their film. They turn it in. We usually have a large amount of teams show up to get the criteria, and by the end, there's some attrition and folks don't make it, teams turn against each other, whatever happens. But then those films go to a judging panel, and every year we choose a different selection of 7 judges who are community oriented individuals who aren't necessarily film oriented, but they are connected to the arts or to media in some way. And so every year we try to build a new diverse team of judges, just to continually build our Slam community. And if there was one word that, I think encompasses the Slam in general, it is community. We are always looking around collaboration and building community. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was going over your judges. I don't know anyone except for Olivia Evans.
Oh yeah.
And what she's doing is amazing. She's an amazing human.
We're very fortunate. Every year, I cannot believe these wonderful people agree to judge all these films.
So then do they go to the same place and watch it together?
No.
Or do you give them screeners?
For the last several years, we have been able to upload the films. The judges get basically like a backdoor access. They watch all the films. They get to score them. They provide the filmmakers feedback digitally, and then we tally all the scores. The judges have roughly 3 to 4 weeks to review all the films.
Okay.
Then we announce the top 15 based on the score, and those films then end up screening for the public at the Bing every year. And then we do an awards ceremony at the end to recognize all the filmmakers and their hard work.
Yeah, that's so cool. What of the years, like what has been like one of the like most memorable ones that you've seen?
Yeah, so part of the criteria every year since the beginning has been really fun, because it's always different, but usually we incorporate some sort of tangible element they have to include in their film, like a prop, something like that, or maybe like a line of dialogue that has to be spoken. But there's usually always a thematic element is one of them. And for the last 10, 11 years, actually, since we started, the thematic element has always centered around other art disciplines in Spokane. So like one of the first years we did was local music, and we got 3 local artists / bands to provide the filmmakers with their songs, and they had to come up with a film inspired by the song in some way, and they could use the music in their film.
Yeah.
We went on to just continue to incorporate things like photographs from still photographers, paintings from painters. One year we did fashion and fashion designers, and we at the screening we did a fashion show, a live fashion show.
That's so cool.
One year we did culinary arts, and we talked to 3 different chefs in town, and we did videos, and they walked through making their favorite dish, and then the filmmakers got randomly assigned that dish, and they had to come up with their story based around a cake.
That's awesome.
This year we we pivoted a little bit, and this year we knew that since it's the 50th anniversary of Expo, we wanted to do something very much centered on Riverfront Park and the river in general. We knew we couldn't talk about the river without talking about the people who have been here for generations, centered around the river, the indigenous people, the Spokane tribe. So we ended up reaching out to some really great individuals who are Spokane tribe members or Native American representatives who basically allowed us to film kind of these cool little interviews where they talk about the river and what it means to not only them personally, like Expo and Riverfront Park, but also what it meant to them culturally. And then each of the teams got randomly assigned these videos that they had to watch and kind of let the stories and words of Native Americans kind of inspire their stories. And so there's a lot of really cool films we're screening this year that are all around the river and what the river means to this area, which is really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I used to do a podcast with the River Keeper.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I've gotten the chance to like meet some indigenous people, like people part of the tribe, and I've like hearing the stories like that are passed down. Like I've often like I need to create like a podcast that kind of tells the history because like I think it's something that Spokane is just really lost track of as like over the years, and like we really like whenever I hear like Spokane originated in 18 whatever, like I'm like no it didn't, like it originated a long time before that. The Spokane tribe was the
this was a gathering place for a long time.
That's so cool. I want to get Dom in here for a second. You really wanted to get Adam on the podcast, and I want you to ask. You have a question you want to ask?
I was thinking, like, has anyone used Garland Brew Werks as a location yet? Even though it's only been like a year or two back into the Arce Slam.
I'm trying to think. I don't think for the slam. No. But I'm trying to think if I feel like someone, maybe it was a student of mine, asked to shoot in there or something at one point very early on, and they were able to get some shots in there early on. I remember we did some sort of shoot in there, but
because I feel like that'd be kind of like, I don't know if that counts as cheating, because it's just like, oh, Adam's the guy to talk to. So,
well, you don't have any opinion on the films that win, do you?
Yeah, no, that's kind of that was something that we decided very early on because we were so ingrained ourselves in the film community. Right. It was like, how do we avoid favoritism? We know all these people, so that was a big thing about putting together the judging panel every year. So no, the organizers. We select a few little awards like the Spirit Award and those sorts of things that we want to recognize filmmakers for certain elements. But no, we stay out of it. We let the judges score, and we're just there to help facilitate. And
what are the awards that are given out for the?
So there are three main awards. There is what we call the Septi Award. That's Latin for seven because of the seven judges. So that's the highest scoring film of the judges' scores. And then there's the Hip Clip Award, which is at the screening at the Bing. We also allow the audience to vote on their favorite. So it's sort of the People's Choice Award. Yeah. And then finally, when all this is done, we finish the screening, all the films go up online on our website, and that includes the ones that did not make the top 15. And then there is a period of time in which we have online voting, and there's the Viral Award, which is we call the Slammy. And so we try to give as many options as we can and chances for these filmmakers to not only get recognized and win awards, but also to have their films seen.
That's so cool.
Because I think that's the important part is getting that exposure as a local filmmaker.
That's so cool. I love that. Well, and it also it gives some. I mean, now you, the listeners, can now go one of those live after the event.
Yeah, we try and launch it around a week after the event. Okay, so within the month of June, it'll be up, and we'll announce it on our social media. But then we give it it's like a 4-week period that you can go on. But we are working right now to archive as well and put online all the last 11 years of films, which we have, that's well over 300 short films shot here in Spokane, that we are hoping within the next year will all be up, categorized and accessible, so folks can go online and look back and see, hey, what was the hot slam film in 2013, you know, so.
Oh, that's so. So, like, looking forward, like, do you already have next year scheduled for the week you're gonna?
Oh God,
do it?
no.
Oh no.
This is quite the endeavor. So typically summer is our off season where we sort of breathe, but we have a lot of work to do. It's kind of exciting. In the 14 years that we have been in existence, this year is the first year we finally officially formed a nonprofit organization.
Oh, cool.
We've been operating like it's the Wild West for a long time, but so we have definitely some new plans on building a larger board with more diverse voices around the table, and hopefully developing the Slam to be what it is now, but also to expand outward. We've had a lot of interest in doing some education sort of things. When we first started, we used to do a limited seminars before the Slam kicked off, a sort of like how to tell a story in 5 minutes. And we would invite some folks from some of the local universities who taught in film or writing. And we'd like to get back into that and doing more outreach with some of the educational organizations that are here, including those that are for younger and upper-coming students too. So like the middle schools and the high schools, and offering more opportunities for them to get into filmmaking and learn about visual storytelling.
Well, that's so important, because like I feel like you didn't have anything like this when you were growing up in Spokane. Like, like if you wanted to like film something, you had to like steal your dad's camera and and make it, and like you couldn't put it anywhere except for watch it by yourself.
Yeah, you showed it to mom.
Like, and there was no editing anything back when you were a kid. Was just not really possible.
No.
There was no digital media back then, back in the 90s. I was just thinking, like, what? Like, I remember my dad had like one of those little dad camera.
Oh yeah,
dad cams, and I'm like, I probably tried to do stuff with it, but you couldn't like edit with.
No, you edited by turning it on and then turning it off, and that was your cut.
Right. That's so funny. I want to ask, like, I mean, you kind of hit on it, but like, what do you hope the Slam will be in its 20th year? And that's it will be 6 years.
My hope would be that it's bigger, and we have grown tremendously since the beginning. When we first started, we screened in the Magic Lantern Theater, and within about 3 years, we outgrew that pretty quickly, and now we're hoping to get to the point where we're outgrowing the Bing Crosby, and I think what I'd love to see is the 50-hour Slam be just another one of those iconic, art events and art organizations in Spokane, like Terrain or the Spokane International Film Festival, and just something that when it happens, whether you're into the filmmaking scene here in Spokane or not, it's on your radar, and you're like, oh, we should go down and see those movies. Those are always really cool, because I just love to see even more of the public getting involved. But I think I'd love to see more people around the table. For the longest time, the Slam has been run and operated by about 5 people. Yeah. And it's a lot of work. And I look ahead and go, I don't know if I'm always going to be there forever. 14 years is a long time. But I want it to continue whether I'm there or not. So I want it to be in a place where the Slam is stable and self-sufficient.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it sounds like you are looking for people to be involved with the Slam. Like, how can people get involved?
Yeah, so you can contact us through our website at 50hourslam.com, and definitely follow us on social media. This summer, after we get wrapped up with the screening, we're going to be putting out a call for applications to apply to be part of the 50-Hour Slam board. And we would love to see any eager individuals who have a little time on their hands and are very art-centric or art-minded to sit around the table, because we want to have a lot more voices involved with the Slam as we move forward.
Well, awesome. Well, count me in.
Okay.
However I can help next year. I'd love to help where I can.
Cool.
I mean, the arts are so important in Spokane, and like to be involved in it, and like you said, like Terrain, and like, I mean, and you've been around as long as Terrain now.
Yeah.
And so like, it's like, we need this more support, and there's no reason that you couldn't move this down the street to the Fox. So
yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed.
How can you get tickets? And
tickets you can order right now online through our website, 50hourslam.com. You can also get them at the door, but the price goes up a little bit, so I encourage you to order them now. But don't worry, we'll welcome you in if you end up showing up at the door as well. But yeah, it's going to be, the screening starts at 6:30 at the Bing on this Saturday, June 8th, and it's really fun. fun. Every year we do a big celebration of the filmmakers, their work. We've got a lot of cool media stuff to show while we're there with some of our other sponsors and partners. And the audience will get a chance to also view those videos we filmed with the Native American individuals as well. So they'll get to see what the filmmakers kind of had to view to get inspired by it. But I think it's also going to be just a really great just message and set a really good tone for the slam this year of just celebrating this wonderful natural resource that we have running through the center of our city. That's been a huge cultural resource for generations.
100%.
Yeah.
How I was going to ask, like, do the ticket sales and does this all go right back to 50 Hour Slam?
It does.
Yep.
And yeah, we operate on a shoestring budget, and so we don't take business trips to Vegas. Essentially, and it's our goal, and will continue to be so, that the Slam is 100% free to enter and will be every year while the Slam exists.
Awesome.
So there's no hurdles for folks to come out. And so one of the ways that we're able to do that with all the things that we do is that the screening is our big revenue generator for the year. So yeah, all proceeds go back to the 50 Hour Slam nonprofit organization to help us just keep putting on slams every year and growing the festival.
That's so cool. Do you want to shout out the sponsors?
Yeah, honestly, our biggest sponsor and one I want to give the shout out to is the Spokesman Review, and they've been a partner with us for a very long time. So we're very grateful to have their involvement every year. Also, KSPS has been a partner for many years. We do our kickoff event every year in their studio, and it's just awesome every year to walk into their studio and see it packed all the way to the back with about 200 filmmakers just eagerly awaiting to find out what silly stuff they have to put in their film. And so, yeah, we're very, very thankful for those organizations to keep supporting us.
Well, awesome. Well, I mean, I would encourage everyone to go and be a part of this and see these short films.
Come down. They're awesome.
Sounds like a great event to be a part of. And I agree. Like, it should be part of the lexicon of all the other great events. And not that it isn't already great in itself.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Yeah. Well, we have a little bit more time. I want to transition to your other endeavor.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Garland Brew Werks.
Okay.
How did you go from filmmaking into brewing beer?
Yeah, it's a common question I get.
Right?
I wish there was like a clear trajectory. I guess there is, but it's not a common one, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's not like a very common way you fall into this. But it kind of started while I was working in film. And my joke is always like, well, you work in film long enough, trust me, you end up coming into drinking. But honestly, it was when I started traveling. And one of the key things that I found when I traveled, you're living out of the suitcase, you get plopped into a hotel, and most of the time, especially on feature film work, you don't have a lot of time off to view the world you're in. Mm-hmm. You're on a set for 12, 14 hours a day. You go home, you pass out, you wake up, you're on set again. So I was traveling a lot and realizing I was kind of missing this opportunity to kind of experience the places I was in. And so I found out through like a lot of the local crew was like there were the local haunts and joints where they'd like to hang out on the weekend and let off some steam. But a lot of times I was finding myself gravitating towards local food and also local drink. And a lot of times I was having beers be shoved in my hands from the key grip saying like, try this, it's locally brewed. It's a brewery down the street. And my experience with beer at the time was kind of like it was yellow, it was fizzy, and it came in a silver can. Mm-hmm. And when you cracked it open at the pool party, everyone thought you were awesome. But so I was getting these beers handed to me, and I was like, wait, what? What is this? It's brewed down the street. Why is it dark? Like I don't understand. And I started kind of learning the story behind beer, how it's made, its history. And I'm just that kind of a nerd. I just like history, and I like the technical aspect. And so I think the same part of my brain that likes storytelling, like the story behind the beers, and I started kind of getting into it. I ended up falling into it as a hobby. Like I think I got a little beer making kit as my first Father's Day present when my daughter was born. And it's just kind of, and I should not have carried forward with the hobby because the first beers I made were practically undrinkable. But I kind of just did it for fun in between movies and sort of things. And then I ended up meeting actually the owners of Iron Goat Brewing here in town. They shared a passion for movies, and so every time I was in their tap room, we would get chatting about our favorite films. And eventually I get into sort of the, hey, have you ever had a filmmaker document your brewing process? Like, no, we haven't. Do you want to do that? Yeah. So ended up starting doing videos for the local brewery where I was documenting the process. They would make an annual beer every year where they invited local Spokane folks who grew hops here in the area in their backyard and whatever. They'd have them bring them in, and it was like a group hop picking party, and they'd brew a beer right there with the fresh hops that were grown right here in Spokane. We did several years. We documented that and did a little video for it. And I kind of just, the hobbyist in me was leaning that way. And I had started teaching at Eastern Washington University, so I had my summers for free. And kind of just the opportunity came up as Iron Goat moved to their downtown location. They were like, well, we're looking for staff to help us. And I was like, I'll sling some beers for you. And they were, I started bartending, and within months they were like, well, you want to bartend and help us in the brewery? And I guess the rest is history from there. I kind of cut my teeth professionally learning at Iron Goat Brewing, and ended up becoming the lead brewer there for a few years.
Oh, okay.
And
I was going to say, like, I know I've met you before because I've gone into Iron Goat, like, 100, like,
yeah.
I wouldn't say 100 times, but like I used to work really close to there, and like,
okay, yeah,
some of the best pizza in Spokane, and like when Travis Tivit used to be the chef there, like, I mean, the food's still delicious, but I really loved it when Travis was there.
Yeah.
So, and you definitely probably slang me a couple beers.
I'm sure I did. Yeah. Yeah. And eventually I just got trapped in the back making the beer and no longer serving it. But, and then as the years went on, I got the opportunity, a business friend and partner of mine was looking to open another business in the Garland district in my neighborhood, and started asking me some questions, sort of just, what would you do if you opened a brewery? What kind of tanks would you put in here? So I started giving just kind of my input to help them. And they were sort of like, well, you've already designed the brewery. Do you want to just run it? And that's kind of what happened. So I was like, run a brewery in my neighborhood, 8 blocks from my house. And yeah, sounds fun.
What year was this when they asked you to do this?
So we're coming up on our 3rd anniversary. So that would have been 2021.
Okay, 20. Yeah. So this is like so this is actually kind of an outcome of like COVID, probably, right?
Yeah. So we opened up what we thought was going to be the tail end of COVID, and it ended up sticking around just a little bit longer. Trajectory wise, it seemed like we were like, man, things are opening back up, vaccines out, like, and then there was kind of like there was one more statewide shutdown for a bit, and we kind of struggled a little bit through that for our first year, but things have been coming up. It's one of those, and I think this is true for just all small businesses, and it might be, I don't think it's even, specified to Spokane, but there's so many challenges to just opening up a new place and trying to bring folks in. And so much of it, I think, just has to do with time and just dedication, because it just takes a while for people to find out, oh, where are you? Who are you? Oh, yeah, I'll stop in. And then you eventually start building your regulars. And at this point now, the Garland neighborhood has just beautifully embraced us. Yeah. And we are just, I walk out into the tap room and it's like Cheers, you see your locals and your favorites. And we do lots of awesome, great, community events with our other Garland business partners. And it's just a really awesome up and coming, historic neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I'm just really privileged and happy to be there.
I love the Garland neighborhood. I used to live in the Audubon neighborhood, and we would go down to Flying Goat all the time and get this beer, local beer, and then also just get awesome beer from around the region. But there's nothing like having a place that's close to you. And I moved away from Audubon in 2019, so Garland Brew Werks wasn't around yet. But like it's so needed in that neighborhood, and like I feel like how much I love Spokane and the people in it, like it gets, every little neighborhood has like its love for its people, like it's very much like I love Millwood because I live in Millwood now, but I always love Spokane too. But like it's like it is very much like there's something cool about having that neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely.
And what's going on in Garland now is just like, so many more multi-family housing.
Yep.
And just so much happening there. Garland resurgence. Like, I just love it. So it's cool that you're there and that
we're getting ready. We're stretching. There's a new apartment building just kitty corner from us that's going to probably be opening here in the next few months. And there's going to be a lot more folks in the neighborhood.
It's going to be a lot more folks.
Yeah.
I should ask, like, what's your style of like beer? Like, what's your favorite type to make?
Yeah. For me personally, I'm a big fan of like lager beer, particularly that's European inspired. So German lagers or Czech lagers. Something light, crushable, but just awesome flavor. And so that's kind of my penchant, if you will. But that wasn't always that way. I think your palate changes over time. I mean, but yeah, I think now that I'm the old jaded brewer, I just want something I can drink 2 or 3 of at the end of the day and not be falling over or passing out. So, but at Garland Brewers, we brew a little bit of everything, so that we have something for everyone. We also have non-alcoholic options. We make kombucha in-house as well as a in-house root beer. Nice. Werks root beer. It's named after my daughter. It's a recipe we used to make at home when she was little. She wanted, when I had my little beer taps on at home, she wanted her own tap, so we would make root beer in our kitchen and then put it on tap. So her root beer now lives on it at Garland Brewers.
Do you like have a staple beer that you always keep on tap? Because I know a lot of breweries, like it's not really easy to always have the same type of beers on, but do you have like a couple of taps that you always kind of keep the same?
Yeah, we do. We have a few flagships. And that is kind of, especially with the neighborhood pub, you always want to throw new things on all the time to keep folks, coming in to try something new. But our main IPA is the OG IPA, the original Garland. And that's on all the time. We also have a hazy pale ale called Pavilion.
Oh, nice.
And it's named after, obviously, our iconic skyline structure.
And
then we have that all the time. And then we have a rotating hazy IPA series called the North Hill Haze that we change up all the time, but it's always on tap as well. We have a few beers that are always on tap that you can rely on. And we usually, those flagships are also canned as well, so you can take them to go in our tap room.
That's awesome. Do you keg your beer and send it out to other places?
Yeah,
in Spokane?
we're small.
Yeah.
Our reach is probably within a 5-mile radius of our brewery. We do have a few accounts out in the valley. We're grateful for them and also puzzled by, how did you hear of us? Because anymore it feels like people don't travel too far in this town, even though it's very easy to get from one side of this town to the other. But we're out there in probably about a dozen different spots. Cool. And then, I would say, 75 to 85% of our beer is just consumed by our neighborhood patrons in the tap room. So.
Nice. I should ask, it's a tap room? What kind of food? Do you have food?
Yeah, we do. We have a kitchen. So we're a brew pub.
Nice.
So we have a kitchen, and it's kind of a mix of some classic kind of brewery eats. We've got like sliders and some flatbreads that we do, but then our chef is always changing up the menu too and doing some really fun stuff, and always trying to use beer as an ingredient in a lot of the stuff. So we have like a beer mustard. We've got like pretzels and bratwursts.
I was going to ask you about a pretzel,
and some other stuff. And we have rotating specials. We do Taco Tuesday every Tuesday, and it's a different taco every week. So it's kind of fun. It's a small little kitchen, small little brewery, but we bring out some really big flavors from it. So
I should, and I'm knowing that you're a father, I probably don't need to ask this question, but is it family friendly?
It is 100% family friendly. That was a big goal when we opened.
Right.
Was that families are welcome. We've got an awesome little game corner. One of our owners is a huge board game nerd, so we have about 250, I think, and counting, rising. Different games. They're all categorized with like guides, and we have game days like every other weekend, every month, and our tap room just gets packed out, and people just fold out, board games, and we'll sit and just play for 3-4 hours in the tap room. It's pretty awesome. But bring the kids. We've got an awesome patio. Patio's dog friendly. We're a family neighborhood brew pub.
That's awesome. I should ask, do you have nights that are particularly a good night to come? I would say any night's probably a good night to come. Is there trivia?
Yeah,
bingo?
we do trivia every Wednesday with Bearded Trivia. We were actually voted best trivia in Spokane in the Inlanders Best of this year, and it is a crazy good time. We are usually at capacity every Wednesday night, and if you haven't been and done trivia with Bearded Trivia. Mike, who runs that, he is an awesome trivia host. You have a lot of fun. And then I would say Friday nights come down too. Every week we do something called Firkin Friday, where we actually put on a live cask of beer. It's usually one of our beers we normally have on tap, but we've done something special to it. Like we'll condition it on fruit or spices or more hops, and then we drive the tap in live, and you can pour beer straight from the cask all night long. And so that's always a fun one. It's different every week. So we get people coming in like, what's in the Firkin today?
Yeah.
And they'll get a pint of it. So
it's like, is it English style? So is it like room temperature?
So yeah, we basically pull it out of the cooler and set it. So yeah, it's cellar temperature, maybe a little colder. But yeah, it's basically served just like you would like in an English pub. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to bring my friend who just moved here from England, and we'll have to come to one of those nights. I love this. This is one of those. It's a place that I've ashamed to say I've driven by a lot, and I've just never gone in.
Yeah.
And but I'm gonna have to come now. Yeah.
Stop in.
Yeah. No. This is so cool, Adam. I'm so happy to meet you. Like, you're doing
likewise.
so much in
Thank you for
Spokane.
having me.
Yeah. Like, do you have any questions about Garland Brew Werks, Tom?
No, but I would say I have 3 big points that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
The first one, I obviously wanted to get Adam on this podcast because I was his former student.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So in 2018, I had a class by you at SFCC.
Yeah.
Intro to digital.
Yeah.
Something.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Made a short film. Realized I'm not a director, so I was just like, great, not gonna do that again. But I transferred to I transferred to WSU in the fall. And the following spring, there was also a guerrilla filmmaking 48-hour thing.
Okay.
So I went and did that because I did 50-hour slam.
Yeah.
Or just went to a 50-hour slam, and I had a lot of fun on that. So that was really fun for me.
Cool.
And yeah, I just had a great time at the slams. I went to the 2018, 2019 slam,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
last year's slam. Had a great time. Oh, another thing. I thought it was really funny when I was trying to look up, I was trying to Google contact information on you. I was like, oh, it's just Adam. I know him as a film person. And then I see all this stuff that's all your brewery stuff. I was like, is this the right person? Is this who I meant to contact?
Yes.
So I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it's like I've lived 2 lives. It is kind of funny, but
Right. Yeah.
He stalked you, not really stalked you, but he went into Garland Brew Werks to try to chase you down.
Yes. Yep.
And then eventually, I think you ended up connecting on the phone, right?
Yeah.
So I called a Friday, and then whoever answered was just like, you just missed Adam. I was like, oh my God, okay. And then I went in the next week on Wednesday, and then turns out you were gone that day. And then I went in the next day after that, and then they're like, he wasn't here. I was like, okay, well, I'll leave this contact card and all this stuff for Brennan and all that. So just if by chance that you actually get it at this point, then we would love to have you on. And then the next day you messaged us thank God.
The irony is, the Wednesday I was gone, I was actually helping. I was assistant
stuff.
directing
Yeah.
on a short film set.
Yeah.
So I was dusting the dust off my AD joints and getting back into the film world for a day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was like, this Brewer bartender is probably just so sick of seeing me at this point asking for Adam. Yeah.
Well, I made it. I'm here,
Yeah,
Dom.
thank you.
I did it.
Well, it's such a cool story, and I thank you again, Dom, for getting Adam on, and thank you for being on Spokast.
Absolutely.
This is such a unique story, and like I said, what you're doing for the community is huge. So I appreciate that. How can people find you? Where are it's all the things to find you on social media for Garland Brew Werks?
Sure, yeah. So we have a very nice website, garlandbrewworks.com. You can just search for Garland Brew Werks on social media. I will say it's Werks, spelled Werks, the industrial German version of it. So get that right. But yeah, and then we're just located on Garland Avenue. We are on the east end of the Little Garland Business District strip. So if you know where the Garland Theater is at, or the Milk Bottle, we're just a few blocks farther east. You can't miss us. Where our neighbors are Giant Nerd Books, so grab a great book from our neighbors next door, and then come over and read it while you drink a pint.
That's awesome. Well, again, Adam, thank you. I can't let you leave though before I ask you the final Spokast question, and that is, why Spokane?
Why Spokane? I have always felt, and I've said this about every endeavor I've done here, most of them have been art-oriented, but even on the business side of things, Spokane has this really unique aspect to it where you can start something from ground zero with nothing, with few hurdles in your way. To launch, a 50-hour slam in a larger city like Seattle or Portland or even New York or LA, you're probably not the first to do it, and you're going to be competing or trying to pull resources or people from somewhere else. And Spokane, it just seems to be that there's just nothing in your way, and you can launch these things. And this not just 50-hour slam, but things like Terrain or other organizations that have just grown. And this community embraces it fully. There's no one who's jaded about, oh, great, another film festival. That's just what we need, and the same goes for breweries, oh, you're making locally made beer. We're going to come in and try it. It's not like, we got enough breweries in this town. So there's just something special about Spokane that just allows you as a creative individual looking to start something, to go for it, and hopefully find success. But I think you're going to always find success easier here than in other places.
I'll 100% agree with that. I mean, I think I'm the only podcasting studio in Spokane that except for the library, they have a free one.
Right.
But I agree. It is in Spokane, you can, if you have a dream, you can really go for it, because it's most likely it hasn't happened in Spokane yet.
Yeah.
And the beer community is such a thing too. When I think of the beer community in Spokane, I feel like I don't go anywhere in Spokane and ever hear another brewer talk ill of another person. Yeah. If anything, they're saying, "Oh, you like this type of beer? Go check out Whistle Punk.
Right.
Go check out this place. Go check out that place." I think it's really cool. The small breweries that are here that are really community oriented. They love each other.
And that's across the board between breweries and our organizations. We are like one big family, and we are very supportive. And I think that's just a really important part of Spokane's culture.
100%. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on Spokast. This has been a treat. And
thanks for having me.
And go check out 50-Hour Slam this Saturday. And if you can't, go and watch all the short films when they're online and vote for your favorites.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all again for listening. Until next time, peace.
Some people, they fiend for things they've already seen. I think they wanted me to be like that, y'all. But it wasn't my scene. I started doing these things that made them say they can't do it like that, y'all. Hell no, they can't do it like that, y'all.